And welcome to Williams Island TV. I'm Bob Shelley, president of the association, and on behalf of the board of directors, we want to welcome you. First and foremost, I want to wish you all a healthy and a happy year. I know it's been an amazing couple of weeks on the island, a little packed, a little crazy, but absolutely wonderful to see. Today, we have a very interesting show because we're going to interview Janine Shelley, my wife, but talking about not so much religion. We're not talking about religion at all quite this way. We talk about the need for spirituality, what we'll be doing on the island, some of the things that are coming up on the island that she will be involved with. That's open for all of the island. We'll also be talking to Jeff Klein about some of the new items that have opened up on the island. Our new amenities, like the sports court, is now open and will be open Monday. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about security. But most importantly, we're just talking about what we have to enjoy on this island. And coming up, we will be doing the day in the life of the island, where we will be interviewing around the island some of the residents in various locations, tennis, restaurants, the spa. So we look forward to seeing you in person on the island when we go around doing the interviews. And in a few minutes, I'll be introducing you to Janine and then Jeff, and we will start the show. So welcome, happy, healthy New Year, and I'll see you in a few minutes. And good evening, and welcome to Williams Island TV. Um, as I told you, we're going to have a very interesting and diverse show this afternoon, mainly because we're going from the island and the day in the life of to spirituality, to events on the island, and to all the new events that are going on. But first of all, we want to all wish you a very healthy and happy New Year. We hope you had great holidays, and may all your dreams become reality. But on Williams Island, it's not hard for that to happen. But let me introduce you to my wife, Janine Shelley. And this is probably one of the most difficult interviews I'll ever do because I'm not sure I can go home after this interview. But the reason why I wanted Janine to be with us today is because a number of reasons, but mainly we have something that we do every year. And obviously, Janine from the past has done the Passover Seder on the island. She's done Kabbalat Shabbat services on the island. But we have something going on this year that we will be doing. We're going to be doing another series of services for the island again. We will obviously be doing the Passover Seder again. She will be doing a concert at the Aventura Theater this coming fall, amongst many, many other events that we will be doing on the island. So I guess we could say that Janine is sort of like our spiritual, along with Rabbi Horowitz, our spiritual leaders of the island. But I say that in a very broad sense because it's not only for Judaism, Catholicism, Protestant, it's just, I think everybody needs a little spiritual in their life. I want to start out with just a simple question. We know what you do, obviously. We know you do services on the island, but I know you're the cantor. And by the time this comes out, you will have retired from Aventura Turnberry because this will start filming on Monday. And tomorrow is your last service of choice. You decided to move on and do more things on your own and explore things that you really wanted to do. But in terms of what you do when we have a Kabbalah Shabbat, what is your hope and wish to come out of that service?
Well, I think that when you're blessed enough to live in a community where there's a lot of people from diverse backgrounds, and you pass each other when you're walking on the way to the gym or to play tennis or to take one of the activities on the island, you don't necessarily, or walking the dogs, you don't necessarily have an opportunity to stop and say hello to someone. So this is a way that all of the neighbors can come together. We can sing, we can pray, we can share poetry, and there's a lot of wonderful people on this island who also like to participate, like maybe give a little bit of a background about where they come from and how they wound up on Williams Island. And services give us an opportunity to sing together, to pray together, and to just have a moment once a week to meet your neighbor and say, hi, how are you? Where are you from? What's going on in your life? And We live in a very crazy world right now, and there's a tremendous amount of anti-Semitism that is everywhere in the world. And I think we need each other more. I think the community needs to be together and give each other comfort, and just know that you have a friend, you have an ear, you have someone to talk to. So that's what I'm hoping that the services give people.
You know, it's very interesting because I know when you were Turnberry, Amateur at Turnberry, and before that, Beth Tower, um, you had a very structured Friday night service
Yes.
and Saturday morning service, of course.
Yeah.
But it's truly amazing to me that we have approximately 5,000 people that live on this island. And yet, probably 90% are unaffiliated with any religious organization. This makes a difference what religion you are. They're not affiliated, but yet, when you offer them something where they can walk out their door, come across the street, and be part of it for an hour, and then go home, they enjoy it and they do participate in it. And I remember, like you just did, the candle lighting in the 6,000 building, and the kids were singing and they were loving it. You probably had about 100 people there. And then Rabbi Horowitz did the same thing on the island for the same thing. What amazes me all the time is that we can get those kind of crowds on the island to participate, but synagogues and churches have such a hard time today getting people involved. Is it that religion just isn't a popular everyday event any longer?
I don't think that it's a religious thing. I think that people's lives get busy. A lot of people have found their spirituality on their telephones. I mean, you can listen, you can watch services all over the world on their phone. Everything is live streamed. You can go back on YouTube and watch things. People's lives are very busy. I think there's a lot of stresses that people have in their lives, and it's difficult sometimes to wake up, get dressed, go to a building, be with people, and get everything else done in their lives that they wanted to. I personally love that. I love the formality. I love having a reason to be with a community, to be with people, to lead prayer for people that actually want to be there, that are enjoying being there. That's why I wanted to bring it here, because I know not everyone feels the same way I do. I do believe that churches are thriving. I do believe that there are synagogues that are thriving, but much more so, um, where people go, they don't go regularly. I think the Orthodox community is definitely demanding and also expecting that everyone is there all the time, and they get that. I think Reform and Conservative, Reconstructionist Judaism, there's a lot more leeway. I would love it if everybody still came to temple. It would be great, or church, or anywhere where you find spirituality and find your sense of a higher being. I think we need it in the world. I think we're missing it. I think we're missing it for sure.
So when you do the high holidays, as an example, and this is the most important time of the year for the Jewish community, and I've seen your services, of course, and we have the choir that was at the Avatar Turnberry, and it's probably one of the most beautiful services I've ever seen. Um, Now go back to the pandemic, when for almost 2 years you had to do services in front of a camera without anybody there. How do you don't you feed off of the response you get from the faces of the prayer of those people in front of you? How was it like on the pandemic when you were just doing services for a camera?
That's an excellent question. I think churches and synagogues all over had a very a lonely experience for the spiritual leaders, because every single prayer that you say in every religion has amen at the end of it. Amen means I agree. So when you're leading a prayer and there's nobody to answer amen, it's you can't say amen to your own prayer, because you're saying I agree with myself, which is kind of funny. But the first year, we actually taped privately. So the rabbis were in different rooms. I was in a different room. The music was pre-recorded from Argentina. Then it got sent here to Florida. Then I met with a music director here who played the music for me, while the background music with the choir was played in another ear. And then I stood there and I sang all of the prayers, and then it was all sent back to Argentina, put together, and then it was played on the pulpit, and then I moved my mouth. Some of it was lip synced, and some of it I sang along with the prayer. But it was a very lonely experience. I felt like, just like an actor doing a part in a play, as opposed to being a spiritual leader where I'm looking out at everyone's faces, I'm seeing that I'm touching them, that something is happening to them, they're being moved, and it was lonely.
But yet, for you, it was lonely, but for the people watching, it was made the difference because they were able,
Yeah.
it's almost like there's been a tremendous transition. Before the pandemic, people went to attend a synagogue, church, wherever their choice was. During the pandemic, they stayed home
Yes.
and they were able to still stay connected. I think one of the successes of this TV show was people were stuck all over the world. They couldn't get here, and yet we were keeping them up to date on what was happening and what's going on, and they felt connected. Well, you did the same thing. And all the synagogues and churches around the world were doing this online. So people got to see. The problem was they got to compare.
That's true. Yeah.
And if they would say, okay, well, this rabbi's sermon is, so I'm going to go to this station and watch this particular synagogue or church and see that sermon. Then when everything opened up again, a lot of people chose to still stay home
Yes.
and watch rather than come back. Do you
That
think that's
Yeah.
been a factor in why you don't get the same kind of participations any longer that you used to?
I think yes and no. I think I did the same thing. I mean, on high holidays, I didn't watch myself during the pandemic. I watched synagogues from all over the world, and I was flipping channels and watching. And I developed incredible relationships with other cantors and rabbis from all over the world because we were able to watch each other, which I thought was really amazing.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot of congregants have gotten older, and so it's more difficult to get to synagogue. And I know a lot of our congregants are from Canada, so they're not here. We have a lot of snowbirds, and one of the most fulfilling things is when they actually get to Florida, and I get to hug and kiss them and see them and
In person.
in person, and they said, "Oh my God, it's so nice to meet you in person. It's so nice to see you help me through such a difficult time of my life." And I had no idea that there was that effect on everyone. It was very meaningful. We also had some people that were sick, that can't come, and I think it's a beautiful option that people have that connection to their community. I met my best friends during the pandemic because we were on the island and the only thing we were able to do was walk. So I would walk with the same women every day with our masks, away from each other, and form these incredible friendships that are thriving now, and it's wonderful. Um, but I am very happy that we are offering, like the Passover Seder, for example. We have hundreds of people in this room, actually, um, who are singing and doing a Seder that they've done since they're little children, but sharing it with people, strangers they've never met, and also being able to invite all their family. They don't have to cook. The food is
And
fantastic.
they don't have to clean up.
They don't have to clean up. That's my favorite part.
Right, right.
And we're all singing the same melodies that everyone grew up with, and it's fun. It's community. And I think what I've always been about is bringing people together that maybe feel like on the fringe, that they don't know if they would fit into this group or this group. When you come together for a service, everyone fits in. Everyone is part of the family. Everyone has their piece that makes it more beautiful.
Well, what's nice about it, you can go anywhere in the world and the service is the same.
Yes,
The Passover is the same. The Yom Kippur is the same. It's
correct.
all the same.
Yeah,
But you've been very fortunate. You're doing this, what, 23 years,
yeah,
something like that. And you have worked in two of the most prestigious conservative synagogues in the country,
yes,
Beth Torah and now AATJC, Aventara Turnberry. So you've worked with some of the best rabbis,
for
great
sure.
studies. Um, but what's very interesting is how you got your job at ATJC. And I'll tell a little secret. She was hired by a 6-year-old, literally. And at that time, you were teaching at Beth Torah, and this son of the rabbi at Torah Turnberry went to his daddy, Rabbi Guido Cohen, and said, "Daddy, I have the most amazing teacher, and she has the most beautiful voice." Coincidentally, Avatar Turnberry had just lost their cantor, and they were without a cantor, and this was over the summer. This was in, I believe, June or July. And Rabbi Guido, called Janine to come in and do a service. And P.S., the rest is history. You were there for 7 years, and it was an amazing experience working with two great rabbis and a congregation that truly loved you. In fact, I must tell you, not because it's my wife, but I've never been to our holiday service where they applauded at various points in the service. Between the rabbis, the cantor, Diego, the choir, it was truly one of the most beautiful services you performed. But to touch on a touchy subject, and I relate it to my daughter because my daughter's a federal judge, and she started out many years ago, and it's a man's world. Being in the legal profession back then, she had to forge a lot of fronts in it, and she had to break some ceilings, so to speak. And I have to imagine the spiritual world, not now as much as it was when you started 20 years ago, is more of a man's world, wasn't it? How were you able to navigate, maneuver, and succeed in that world?
Well, I think, there's different sects of Judaism. The Reform movement has always been accepting for women to be rabbis and cantors and leaders, and conservative. Um, there was a progression of time where women then were also able to become rabbis and cantors. In the Orthodox community, when you are born into or you choose a sect of Judaism to be part of, you know what the rules are. So I would never walk into an Orthodox synagogue and expect to be able to lead prayer there. That's not a woman's role there, and I respect the Orthodox community, and a woman has her roles in the Orthodox family, in the Orthodox community, in the Orthodox shul, and I'm fine with that. I don't have an expectation to be treated or to be given a role that is not part of their I don't know what the word is, their philosophy, for lack of a better word. Conservative, though, I do wish there were times where I have felt, yes, it's still a man's world, and I think each synagogue has its own place. I mean, at Beth Torah and Aventura Turnberry, right here in our own community, women read Torah, women can be rabbis, women can be cantors. And again, Beth Torah was the very first synagogue that put me on their pulpit to be able to lead prayer and uh, to be a leader of prayer, to be a tefillah leader, and I love that. And Aventura Turnberry, of course, Rabbi Lauren Birkin, she's on their pulpit all the time, and she speaks and teaches and runs programs and with the Hartman Institute, and is a leader. So there's equality there. As far as a whole world, yes, there are moments where I have felt, yes, because I'm a woman, I wasn't able to participate in things, or I wasn't as warmly received or respected, um, because not everybody is open or learned enough to understand that there's as much to offer uh, from a woman's voice as a man's voice. I've always looked at prayer as being almost like a mother, where I am mothering my congregation, even if people are older than I am. I try to appear like a granddaughter or a daughter or a mother, or just a nurturing spirit, that I'm just there to help people through difficult times, or their joyous simchas, their wonderful things going on in their life. I've done many funerals and unveilings, baby namings, weddings, um, bar and bat mitzvahs, where families are uncomfortable with certain things, and I like to make things easier. I'd like to explain things that people don't understand necessarily, and I find sometimes that people find me more approachable, let's say, than a man, especially women. When women have a question and they're uncomfortable uh, asking a man, they'll ask me. And I think that's great. I think there should be, there's a place for both.
And I understand you're doing a special class
Yeah.
for the school on the
Yes.
island coming up
Yes.
that
Yeah.
everyone's invited to.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I was asked to be part of a series of studies for the women on the island, and they asked me to do a seminar on the women's voices from the Torah and their music and their stories. So we will be talking about Miriam and Hannah and Devorah and their contributions and their words from the Torah, and I'm going to sing with everyone and teach you the joyous melodies, because God wants us to sing. Otherwise, it says actually that prayer begins with vibration, which is why there's a lot of things that happen where you're just doing, it's called a nagun, you're doing music without words. And people hum, and then they start moving, and your body moves. And even in church, it's the same thing. There's humming, there's moving, and then you start singing, and you're adding the words. And the next part is you dance. You get up and you move. In church, you're moving. In synagogue, you're moving. We bow, we step back, we step forward. The movement involves our whole body. That's why it's so important to understand why and what you're doing so that you can feel included. And that's community.
Hmm. And that's what you do on the island.
Well, I hope to do that, and I hope people feel that way. I hope that everyone feels that I'm approachable. If you have a question, whether you're Jewish or not Jewish, we live together in this world, and the best way to get rid of um, fear, I think, is if you don't understand something, instead of assuming or picking up your phone and looking at TikTok or looking at Instagram and 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 being attracted to one person's way of thinking or learning or teaching, ask questions, do your own research, because we're getting a lot of misinformation about what's going on in this world right now. And, if you have a question, if you have a Jewish question, if I don't know the answer, I know 15 people to send you to that would be thrilled to answer your questions. But I'm approachable, so please come and ask me. I have non-Jewish friends that go to Jewish funerals, and they're like, should I bring flowers, or what should I wear, or how should I behave? And I'm here to answer your questions. You could always reach out and ask me. And by the way, we don't we don't bring flowers. It's not a Jewish thing to do. We make sure that the family has food, because the nourishment of the soul is what we need the most when we've lost someone that we love. So we always make sure that there's food. And if you go to a cemetery, we leave a little rock to show that we have been there, as opposed to bringing flowers. So
I will tell you something. Watching her sing and watching her do this services, I fall in love every time I see her do this. But I say that not only selfishly, I say that because that's how people feel when they watch you pray, when they pray with you. And you have a certain spirituality about you. Even when you yell at me, it's okay. But we do thank you for what you do on the island. And as you said, you're here for everybody.
I
And
am.
that's a beautiful thing. That really is. And we have a series of, as we said, I think 4 or 5 Friday nights coming up this year. We have the concert coming up. We have the women's lecture series coming up. We have the Passover Seder coming up. So you're going to be very busy. Um, do you think you're going to miss working in a structured synagogue versus being more or less your own producer?
I think I definitely will miss it. There's no question. I will miss being part of, I want to call it almost like a mandatory community. It was a time once a week where I actually had to sit and learn with the rabbis. I had an opportunity to expand my own personal relationship with God, and listening to the Bible, listening to the Torah, listening to the interpretations of the Torah. It's not something that I would just sit down and do myself. In Judaism, you don't really study alone. You study with it's called a chavruta, or a chavurah community, or with a rabbi, or in a classroom. Judaism is not a religion that can be practiced alone. We always are usually in a minyan with 10 people, because you need to be surrounded by people for the good things and for the unhappy things, the stressful things, the scary things. We are a forced community, per se. And that's why Amen is said at the ends of every prayer, because you can't agree with yourself. You got to have people around you. So yes, I will miss getting up and looking out into the faces of all the people that I've truly fallen in love with out there in the congregation. But I feel very blessed that I live here, so I will continue to see the people that have touched me, and I hope that they will come and see me as well. Um,
But by the way, it's interesting because you have worked with four of the great rabbis, Rabbi Roisman, Rabbi Farber, Rabbi Guido Cohn, Rabbi Birkin, Lauren Birkin, and indirectly with Rabbi Horowitz on the island. So how many people ever get to work with so many greats like that? It had to have had an effect on where you are today.
There's no question about that, but I think one of the people that also have influenced me tremendously, obviously, as a cantor, I had the great privilege of studying with Cantor Moshe Sholhoff for 8 years of my life, and Chazan Henry Rosenblum, and Elliot Zicker, Elliot Wasser, Cantor Diego Rubenstein, and Roger, Cantor Roger at the synagogue, who I've really developed a friendship with, and some really great female cantors from all over the country. And I think that everybody's affected me. I think that I have felt safe and to learn to explore. I know that Rabbi Farber was always there to answer every question I ever had. I would just walk into his office and ask him, and he would teach me, and I would learn from it. It was amazing. And Rabbi Roisman and I created a Friday night service that grew from like 25 people to over 200 people. Um, I, I had an opportunity to learn Spanish, to become part of the Latin community, and I felt very accepted by them. And as I always said, I'm Latino en mi corazón, that my heart is Latin, and I've loved that, and I feel very blessed that Rabbi Birkin brought in this Argentinian choir. So I was able to develop this incredible friendship with Diego and the choir from Argentina, which there's nothing like singing with angels. And that's what it always felt like. I felt like I was surrounded by angels, like the Malachim came down and I sang with them. And it was beautiful. And I'm going to miss that tremendously, yes.
But religion is religion, whether it's Catholic, Protestant, Jewish. And I think what you exemplify is spirituality. It doesn't have to have a title. And I think the beauty of what's needed on the island and then what we give them on the island, hopefully, is a safe environment, a place that they can share their spirituality, they can feel their spirituality, and whether you're Jewish or not is not the important part. It's how you live your life. And I think that's part of what you've created in your environment on this island. And that's what you bring to the island, a form of spirituality. Because I see when we walk around the island, people from all walks of life come over to you and say thank you, ask you questions, invite you here, do this, do that. And that's an amazing thing. So you touched a lot of lives. And that must be a very rewarding feeling in your life. To how many people can say that every single day of their life they did something good for somebody or they
Oh.
helped somebody. It's like a doctor. Every day they go to the office and they see 20 patients, and at the end of the day they come home and say, wow, I just helped 20 people.
Well, I appreciate all the compliments, and obviously, as my husband, I think it's very nice that you're saying all these things. But in my opinion, I just yes, I do. The services will be Jewish services. However, there's going to be a lot of English and a lot of poetry. And I hope that people that are curious, that have never been to a Jewish service before, or people that have stopped going to temple for years because they haven't found their place, or they just moved here from New York or California or Israel, or wherever you're from, and you haven't felt that you found your Jewish community yet. please come and be part of it and meet each other and see what you like and give me your suggestions. But, you know, we forgot about one of the most important things about my life here and our life here is
Dogs.
dogs. And I love them, and I'm attached to a lot of rescues. Again, if anybody's ever looking for a dog, it's so much more wonderful to rescue a dog out of a cage that would have a terrible life as opposed to supporting breeders. And I have access, if anybody is looking to adopt a dog, to some wonderful, wonderful
And I can vouch
rescues.
for that because we have 4.
Yes, and they're all nuts, I'm not gonna lie. They take a lot of time, but the reward and the love is amazing,
Great.
I think.
Well, when is the first service?
First service is, oh, I should know
16th.
that, the 16th of January
In here, in the
in this
ballroom.
room. Yes, and please RSVP only because we have little treats and I want to make sure that we have enough for everyone. And it gives me an idea of who's coming, and that makes me happy too. And it's great. And you can all look up when you RSVP online.
You
You
can
can
see.
see who else is coming.
Yes.
So if you care about that, you can find out. And so that would be great. And again, I thank you. This was
Great.
wonderful. And
Well, no, I thank you for what you do. And it's very interesting interviewing your wife because I didn't ask about her hair, about her nails, about her outfit, about her clothes, because I normally do that. But I was warned I cannot talk about any of those things.
yes,
But
it's
anyway,
not important.
all kidding aside, I thank you. And we all thank you for what you do on the island. And that's why we wanted you to be here today, because
Thank you.
it's amazing what you do for the island. And that's important.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And we will be right back because Janine has to now go home and walk the dogs. We'll be right back. And good afternoon. Welcome back. There's so much going on the island, and in some cases, there's some confusion. So I want to clarify a few things. And we have Jeff here with us, Jeff Klein. Um, but there's been a lot of conversation that we've been hearing about what we're doing with the spa. And I say this at each taping because I want to make sure we have a clear understanding that at this point, we don't know. We are going through the due diligence, let's call it for a better word. We did have some thoughts, we had some ideas presented, but we decided let's take a step back, take a deep breath, and start to really evaluate. And the reason for this is because the demographics on the island are changing so drastically and quickly, which is wonderful. We have close to 500 children on the island now. So at this point now, whatever you're hearing about this spa, disregard. In the next 30 to 60 days, we will have proposals that will be given to us that we will be able to present to the island, present to the board, present at some meetings of the island residents, and then make some final decisions. So at this point now, it could be a padel court, it could be an additional building, it could be a redo of the spa as it exists today, whatever the case is. The one thing that is definite that we are doing is we are redoing the grill. And that will be starting, I assume, sometime over the summer.
Yeah, we've already started meeting with designers, meeting with architects, trying to make sure that the strategy for the end goal is actually doable and give the restaurant a facelift, some concept change, more space. So those meetings already started. But just going back to the spa, we had great meeting with a potential contractor to look at the lay of the land. We're meeting with multiple architects, multiple designers, and we will put together some great presentations for the committee and the board to then assess. And then, like you said, in 30, 60 days, we'll have a much better idea of what's the potential, what we could actually do there. We don't know what we can do until we survey the land and look at the soil and there's so much to do, but like any project, we'll measure twice, cut once, and hopefully the end goal will be no different than what we delivered here at the island.
And the most important thing is that at this point now, number one, the grill will be the summer of 26.
Correct.
Whatever we're going to do with the spa will not be
Summer
till
of
27
yeah.
probably, because we need time to plan and pros. However, whatever we are going to do, another rumor is we'll be shut down for a while. We will not be shut down. Will be relocated, but there will be an operational spa during the entire time we are under construction.
That's correct.
And other than that, another point that's very important, there will not be an assessment for what we're doing. Part of our planning that we did a number of years ago when we worked on our bank loans, we worked on our assessments, put together our budgets, we made provisions for all of these improvements to be done over a 5 to 7 year plan. So whatever you pay now is all you're going to be paying in terms of our dues, other than normal increases, but there will be no financial assessment for any of these capital projects that we're doing. So that being said, one little housekeeping thing, which it's unfortunate we have to talk about it, but we have found that because we have so many kids and the people on the island, and I don't say all of the people, but quite a few, speed on the island, go through stop signs, don't give a walking preference. People can almost get killed crossing walk with kids and baby carriages. So as you know, we did have the police here for quite a while. They are still here, but they're just in unmarked cars. We have given out over 200 tickets to people going through stop signs and speeding on the island. In addition, there's a full camera system being installed as we speak. In fact, I think the first camera is already installed with license plate readers on them to enforce speeding on the island.
Right.
It's not because we want to make money from this, but we want to save lives with this, and it's so critical. Please stop. Please be careful. Please don't speed, because I must tell you, it's going to be very costly to continue this. But unfortunately, because of what's going on with the safety problems,
Right.
we've had to start to implement these kind of things.
Right. And pursuant to the rules and regulations, we do have an entire section designated to speeding.
Right.
And how fast you go and how many times you do it. There is a fining process that is non-negotiable. There's always a grievance process, but the fining process is very specific
Right.
to the rules and regulations. So the 2026 rules and regs will be posted. They were ratified by the board in the December meeting. So those rules will all be out, so the residents can actually read the rules and regulations. They can specifically look at the section designated for speeding, because we will be enforcing it.
Oh, yeah.
We will have 5 license plate readers and speed detecting cameras on the island. And those cameras don't just look at license plates and speeding, but they also look at vehicles and other things in the area. So adding cameras is always great for the safety and security of the island. But like you said, I think it's just people being more mindful. When the cops were visibly present, we wrote, like you said, 192 tickets, and people were mindful. And then the cops go away and people aren't as mindful. So I think as we start adding all of these great amenities to the island, and the sense of community becomes more heightened and the usage becomes more heightened, there's going to be more traffic. But that's why Williams Island is what Williams Island is.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I want to just clarify, because unfortunately, in their infinite wisdom, and I don't understand why, the government of Florida has allowed guns to be carried openly, which to me, I think is absolutely anyway, it's my own personal feeling. I think it's wrong. However, Williams Island is a private club, private POA, private, whatever you want to call it. We do not allow guns to be carried any of the areas in Williams Island, whether it's the restaurant, the spa,
Or any comment?
restaurant downstairs, the Olia, the pool area, and we will call the police if somebody is caught carrying a gun. Just last week, we had 5 people in the spa carrying guns. There is absolutely no reason somebody should walk into a spa to work out and exercise with a gun. And I will tell you, we will be doing this and handling this very strictly, because we have kids around, and there's no reason you need a gun on this island. But if you choose to have it, that's your personal preference. Keep it home, keep it in your car. But if you're caught walking around with it, you will have it taken away from you, and we will call the Aventura police because there is no need to carry a gun. And that is in the rules and regulations of the island, and the Florida statute allows us as a private club to enforce these rules. So now let's talk about some good stuff.
Yeah.
I walked in here this morning
That's
and
right.
I saw the most amazing amenity.
Yeah.
Tell me what
Well,
this
I thought
amenity
that's why
is.
you were dressed like me, just wearing a different
Yeah,
color.
I
So
mean,
I'm wearing my sports attire today
uh-huh.
because I'm really proud of this new amenity. But it's a perfect segue because you had Janine on.
Yeah.
You were talking to Janine about prayer and spirituality. And the message I really walked away with was community and collaborative and a sense of place and a sense of family and people gathering. So I'm really excited that the board allowed John and I and a few others on the construction committee to find the oddest 5,000 square feet of underutilized land that was a construction site. We had a statue and a few benches.
Statues.
And I'm proud to say that we've converted that space into a sports court park. We'll have a small-sided soccer field, which is called futsal. We have a basketball court that was installed, and this is a open play scenario. Obviously, we'll hold events there. We'll have instruction there when necessary, but this is going to open play. So this is like walking out of your house and saying, I want to play basketball today. You go to the sports court located right on the triangle in front of Bellini and across from the island, and you gather with your friends and you play basketball and you hang out with your community friends and your friends come and play. And same with soccer. It's a safe space. It's fenced in. It will have a proper gate access like all of our amenities as we're working on that for 2026. But again, it's another place for people to gather,
Yes.
feel really good. And I'll tell you a cute story. Yesterday, I was with the construction workers and they were painting the lines on the court, and the bus pulls up, and off the bus, these two young kids, one with a basketball, one with a soccer ball in arm, start walking towards the sports park. They couldn't be 8 and 5, definitely brothers, and they were so excited to play, but unfortunately we were painting the lines. And I told them how the court would be finished and probably after the weekend, Monday, they can come back. And they turned around, they waved the bus back down, they got back on the bus and they went home. That's how you know you live in a community that is safe, that cares about the people, and has the amenities that are so rich and available. I mean, this is an 8 and a 5-year-old on the bus to the sports park to play at Williams Island. And it made me feel really good that we've created it. But we're putting the final touches on it. We're putting the gate up. We're talking about some netting and things like that. And like everything, there will be opinions. Please share them. This is new. It's a learning.
But it looks amazing.
We'll modify if we need to, but it's the best use of the oddest space so far I've seen on Williams Island. And the previews have been amazing.
And Padel is, how are we doing with that?
So Padel, we're still working on Padel. We're in our concrete curing process, and we're just following the 7-day and the 20-day and the 28-day, and I think we're on day 20 of concrete, so more to follow. And
So what do you think, around March will open?
I think that's the latest. Assuming all goes well with concrete and other, I think we'll get a move on it. We have some more tests coming up, and we'll go from there. I think the hard part's behind us.
Good.
Unless there's some oddities that we come across.
You know, it was amazing. You talk about community. In the last few weeks, if people went to courtside and out in front of court one and that whole area there, it's amazing. You couldn't get a seat. They were lined up down the street to get into the courtside to get a cup of coffee.
It's interesting. Thaddeus and I, and by the way, kudos to Thaddeus and Carlos and Carrie and all the operators. What we witnessed over the last 3 weeks at Williams Island was absolute craziness in a good way. Families, relatives, multi-generational, people playing, people having fun, people eating. On a normal day at Williams Island, we do about 500 meals on a normal day between all of our food and beverage venues. We averaged almost 1,800 meals a day.
It's insane, isn't it?
Coffee by coffee,
My
bagel by bagel, pizza by pizza, pool service, Olia, functions, events, happy hours, you name it, over 1,800 meals a day. So again, a real shout out to all the operators. The courts were busy, the spa was busy, the restaurants were busy, facilities was keeping the place clean. It was a real awesome team effort through the holidays, and each year we get better and better.
I don't think people really realize. It's almost like you go to a Broadway show and you sit in your seat and you see the show, but you have no idea what it took
Oh,
to get that show on the stage.
yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. The other night, coincidentally, we had a jazz night and Brandon Goldberg was performing, and we had it out on the deck in front of this in the ballroom. And I was there and we were packed. Couldn't get a seat to see the show. However, as you look out, you see people sitting at the bar, at the pool. You see people coming into Olia. By the time the show let out, Olia was packed, the pool was doing beautifully, the room was packed. You walk around the island, it's like, where do you get this? People just
This is
don't
it.
realize what a life we lead here.
83 acres of absolute
Amazing.
community and lifestyle that you could not build today.
Well,
You couldn't replace it.
and that segues into the next few weeks, which we'll all be part of. We are going to be doing, I guess we could call it, for a better word, a day in the life of. And it's the day in the life of a resident of Williams Island. And we will be filming all of these areas around the island, interviewing the residents, talking to them, meeting them out by the tennis court, by the swimming pool, by Olia, by the grill, by the spa, and we go on and on and on, because it is truly amazing. I walk around the island, and I will tell you a very cute story. A woman, and I'm going to say she had to be in her 70s or 80s, says, "Can I hug you?" And she gives me this big hug. And she said, "I want you to share that hug with Jeff and his team, because I probably will live 10 years longer because of the life that I lead on Williams Island.
That's amazing.
And I want to thank all of you." And you know, it really, that meant more, because it is true.
Yeah.
You know, I go to New York once a week, once a month, and I see these people, they live in their apartment, it's freezing cold, and obviously they work and it's a beautiful place to live, but you come down here and your life extends.
Yeah.
It's like you were working at Turnberry 24/7.
Yeah.
You work just as hard here, but you also have a balanced life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what we've created here.
Yeah,
Well,
this-
you
I mean,
created here.
Listen, I mean,
But it's a team. But yes, you lead 300 people.
Yeah, but I do it with a clean slate and a lot of latitude, a very supportive board. And look, the board, they're risk takers, right?
Mhm.
The board's not sitting back saying, "Oh, let's just be who we are today. We'll worry about tomorrow." Like, we need to be great today while we think about how being great tomorrow. Like, and we're never taking our eye off the future while executing today. And it's a kudos to the team. Yeah, I get the accolade, I pave the way, but that's all my job is. And I tell Carlos this all the time. My job is to pave the way for you to do your job. My job is to listen to people so you can actually focus on tennis and I can listen to the people, and then we can figure out a strategy. And I think it works on so many levels, from the board to the management team, from the staff to the management team to the residents. And I think the general feeling on the island is a feeling of happiness and joy and appreciation. And the feedback is much more constructive and less negative.
Yes, very much so.
Um,
And you know, if you think about, we have close to 300 employees. Then we have a board of every building. We have the master association,
right.
and we have our staff. We have almost 400 people working for the island to make it what it is
Yeah,
today.
that's
And that's
great.
a lot of people
A lot of people.
creating a lifestyle for
Absolutely.
5,000 people to
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's accomplished.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Oh, yeah, little by little.
I always say we may not be where we want to be, but we are nowhere where we used to be.
Well, you know, and to add to that, there's
Yeah.
an expression: you never want to complete your goal, because then complacency sets in.
That's right.
You should always have
Yeah,
another goal to
that's
go
right.
to. And that's what we've created on this island.
That's right.
We did this, and now we're doing the spa, and then we're going to do the restaurant. And it's continuous. It's like painting a bridge.
And by the
You get
time
to
we're
the
done
end-
with the spa, there'll be another project in the
Exactly.
works to keep this place relevant.
That's right.
And that's what separates us from most communities in South Florida were willing to reinvest in the asset. The residents, the demographics are changing. It's multi-generational, and we have very little turnover.
Yep.
And little turnover creates more consistency. More consistency creates better product, better service creates happier residents creates more residents moving in, and the cycle just continues. So thank you for letting me take care of my team every day, because my team then feels empowered to take care of the residents, and it's a really simple formula.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was over at Turnberry the other day for lunch, and some of the staff that all, of course, they know you, and of course, they keep yelling. I walked into Bourbon the other night,
Yeah.
and they said, I don't know if we should let you in here. You stole Jeff, you stole Gabe, and you stole Miles, and we don't know about. But the truth of the matter is, somebody said they saw you, and they said, I've never seen Jeff so happy. And I said, you know something? It's a happy place to work.
Yeah.
But more importantly, it's a happy place to live.
Sure.
And that's what our goal is. We all want, look, we're neighbors.
That's
We're all neighbors, basically.
Happy but never satisfied.
That's right.
Happy but never satisfied.
So
hopefully the sports park will have it open
Yeah.
by Monday. There'll be a sign on there. It'll be an evolution, more things coming. You know, the benches are arriving. There's a lot going on, but we want to get that asset open so the residents
also,
enjoy it.
the 13th, 14th, 15th, whatever, is the deadline for people to submit their committee requests.
Right. Oh,
That's very important for involvement in the island.
yeah. And we've had a lot of
Good.
unbelievable feedback, a lot of influx,
Great.
a lot of newcomers trying to join committees. So at the week after the 13th, we'll be spending time together with some of the past chairs and the leaders, making some changes. I think change is always healthy, and getting some fresh blood onto certain committees. But we're excited. Arlene's been fielding all those applications, so they've been coming in pretty good.
Well, thank you for
My
everything.
pleasure.
And remember, as I said, we will be around the island in the next few weeks, filming, taping. If anybody would like to be on the show, talk to us, express their opinions. We would love to have you on. Please let Arlene know. In addition, please get your applications in. And if anybody has something interesting to talk about, or anyone has a past that's fascinating, please, we would love to have you. The main thing about this show is it brings community.
Absolutely.
We want to hear from our neighbors. So I want to thank you very much for being with us. Again, a happy and a healthy year. Only the very best for all of you and your family, and of course you and your family. From the board of directors, I can't thank them enough, because it's an amazing group of guys to work with, and women. And it's without them, we couldn't be what we are today. But the 300 staff members that we have, they are truly our family.
That's right.
And we are blessed to have what we have working on this island. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.